Hello, my name is Sandra Stoddard, and I'm the Superintendent of Elk Island Public Schools. Thank you all for joining me. As most of you know, Elk Island Public Schools Administration has put forward a recommendation report for the board to review about the secondary French Immersion program. It also includes a recommendation about how best to balance the English senior high enrollment in Sherwood Park. The reason for both is that the two are inherently connected. So, to effectively solve one issue, we also need to solve the other. The board will review the recommendation at the board meeting on January 25th. In the meantime, I'm here to walk you through the recommendation and the rationale behind it. You can also read the report online, which goes into significantly more detail. First, let's go back to last October. That's when the original recommendation for the division's junior and senior high French immersion was shared with trustees and stakeholders. It was to relocate the secondary French immersion program to Bev Facey Community High, making it a dual-track junior-senior high. At that time, it checked all the criteria for the solution. However, shortly after sharing the recommendation, I became privy to information I hadn't been aware of before. Staff at Bev Facey brought forward new concerns about the unintended consequences of a grade reconfiguration at the school, namely the negative impact on career and technology studies, the school's catchment area being too small, and overall student retention at Bev Facey. While the school had the space, staff were concerned about integrating a junior high into an already established senior high program. We also heard from school families who echoed their concerns, expressing reservations about combining junior high students with senior high students. I then met with my administrative and planning teams to discuss this information further. With the new administration comes a new perspective. A key focus area for the engagement was finding a solution to best manage the anticipated student growth at our Dawson Junior Senior High. We knew modulars weren't an option because the number needed would cause too many challenges to the core building. So at that time, modulars weren't further explored. However, in light of the information I received, we began to wonder if modulars were a viable option if we just relocated the senior high French immersion program from our Dawson. I had to find out. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. When I took on the role of superintendent, I made a commitment to ensure all decision-making be made in the best interest of students. That promise meant I had to explore if there were other options to determine the best path forward. Thankfully, the board granted my request for more time. Right away, we got to work, looking at every possible option, and I mean every possible option. We also recognized we needed to look beyond just French immersion and instead take a system-wide approach. We went back to the stakeholder feedback, reviewing the French immersion engagement and the 2020 Sherwood Park Value Scoping session. We explored all relevant background information about school culture, programming trends, facts and figures, enrollment projections, attendance boundaries, and available infrastructure. We also looked at how to balance senior high enrollment in Sherwood Park. And we held working group meetings with principals and staff. We exhausted every possible option. And I'm glad we did, because we have a solution that I am 100% confident is the best way forward. It aligns with what we heard from all stakeholders impacted by my recommendation. It aligns with the French immersion goals, values, and vision, the capacity issues in our Dawson, the French immersion retention, and balancing senior high enrollment in Sherwood Park. So what is the recommendation the board is reviewing? It's to relocate Elk Island Public Schools' senior high French Immersion program, grades 10 to 12, to Salisbury Composite High, effective when the new replacement school in Sherwood Park opens. That's expected in 2026-27. So that's just grades 10 to 12, and it's to Salisbury instead of Bev Facey. I know this is a big shift, and I'll explain more shortly. To balance senior high enrollment in Sherwood Park, we're also recommending adjusting Strathcona County's senior high attendance boundaries by redesignating students in Lakeland Ridge's junior high attendance area to Bev Facey Composite High for grades 10 to 12. And the last part of the recommendation is to adjust the junior high French Immersion attendance boundaries by redesignating students in Cambrian Crossing to Sherwood Heights Junior High. This part doesn't affect anyone yet. Currently, no French Immersion students live in Cambrian Crossing. What it does, though, is it supports school transitions by keeping all French Immersion students coming from Heritage Hills Elementary together for junior high. So essentially, the recommendation means it's status quo for all French Immersion students in kindergarten to grades 9. That's what stakeholders told us they wanted. For senior high French Immersion, students in the program will relocate to Salisbury Composite High for grades 10 to 12. So when the change takes effect, Salisbury will offer a dual-track senior high program. Relocating to Salisbury will allow us to manage student growth in Ardrossan. It's also the feeder school for Sherwood Heights Junior High. So long-term, we believe this will make the program robust and increase program retention. That said, it does mean more transitions for students in Fort Saskatchewan. But we felt keeping the junior high status quo across the division was more important. For senior high students in the regular English program, the only other change is a boundary adjustment. Students living in the Lakeland Ridge Junior High boundary will attend senior high at Bev Facey instead of Salisbury, which is actually ideal as Bev Facey is closer for most of these students. I know this is a shift for everyone. To get here, we truly brought our best thinking to the table. It's based on an extensive engagement process that truly honors all the feedback heard and addresses concerns from a very broad perspective. It is the best long-term solution, and I'm certain of that. So thank you to the board for giving me the gift of time needed to weigh the various options. Thank you to the planning and administrative teams for the countless hours spent exploring and evaluating all possible options. Thank you to our working group for your input and for supporting my decision-making process from a multiple boots-on-the-ground perspective. And finally, thank you to all of you for your patience and your understanding throughout this process. If you haven't done so already, I encourage all of you to read through the detailed recommendation report, which is posted online. I also encourage you to tune in and watch the board discuss the recommendation, which will live stream on the Elk Island Public Schools YouTube channel, starting at 10 a.m. on January 25th. If the recommendation is approved, Elk Island Public Schools will communicate often. We'll host information sessions with staff, students, and families. And we'll develop a plan to further engage with you to ensure a smooth and successful transition for everyone. And that's the recommendation. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen and for your ongoing commitment to Elk Island Public Schools.